throughout virtually all of Australia. So we've got a mixture of species in here. Many of the fish can actually be found here in Victoria. So the rays that we have in here, for example, the snapper we mentioned before, and in fact most of the fish we can see at the moment, you can actually find in Melbourne. So if you go snorkeling at the beach in Port Phillip Bay, this is what you might see. Maybe an eagle ray or a stingray or a snapper. But we've also got some kind of more tropical species in here as well that you might find throughout the east coast of Australia and up through the northern areas as well, for instance in the southern Great Barrier Reef region. So we've got a mixture of Australian species in here, and as we said, you might be able to go out snorkeling for yourselves and get a chance to observe many of these animals in the wild for yourself. Maybe if you're lucky you might get a chance to see a sandbar whaler like these sharks over here. How the divers going? They're just coming over here. So we've got Jane and Lloyd. We can give them a big wave when they come around. So this is Jane, the first diver here with the yellow patched wetsuit. And Lloyd will be tagging along behind somewhere as well. He's probably still feeding those mulloway. So on the right here, Jane has got an eagle ray gliding in to try and get some food, but Jane wants to get to her favourite feeding spot. And the eagle ray is getting a bit impatient here. So obviously you can work out why they're called eagle rays. If you look at their movement through the water, the way they kind of glide and flap their wings, just like, I guess, a bird's wings. That's obviously why they're called eagle rays. And these rays, again, you can see in Port Phillip Bay. This is a small shark here coming into the feed station. This is Leo, and Leo is a type of shark known as a leopard shark, also known as a zebra shark. The reason why they're also called zebra sharks, because as you can see, look at their stripes, is, well, it's a baby. Zebra sharks or leopard sharks have stripes on their body. And then as they grow, they get these beautiful spotted patterns, which is what you can see here. Eagle rays getting a bit fussy here. And with Leo as well, with that leopard shark, he's still quite young. He'll probably get at least 2 times, if not 3 times bigger than what you're seeing here today. So you can reach a total length of around about 3 or so metres, which is about as big as our biggest shark. So as you can see, these eagle rays get quite friendly towards the divers. They're not a very dangerous animal at all. They do have a very small sting on their tail. It's very, very small though, and they really don't use it because of its size, but also because they are so fast underwater. That's their main form of defence or protection, is that they're super, super fast. Their speed and agility. A much slower swimming ray though is a stingray, and these round rays that you see in here that look like that, it doesn't matter what size you see, they're all the same species of stingray, and they're called the smooth ray, the smooth stingray. Now, of all of the true stingrays in the world, that's one of the biggest species, one of the biggest varieties of stingrays. We spoke about Mars before, our biggest stingray, that'd be over 250 kilo. And you'll see smooth rays about that size, if not even bigger, in Melbourne. So next time you go down to the beach, you see one of these big underwater stealth bombers, it's a smooth stingray. So they're pretty impressive animals to see and swim and slobber with underwater. I don't think they're going to be as friendly as this underwater, but they're certainly not an aggressive type of animal, certainly not an animal to be too concerned about. Is Leo getting a bit fussy there as well? Lloyd's trying to get him some food, doesn't seem too keen on it though. In the wild, leopard sharks actually eat hard-shelled animals mainly. So they like to eat clams and snails and even lobster or crab, animals like that. And they use their teeth to kind of squash and crush their food. Now there's Mars, as we talked about earlier, our biggest stingray, just shying away from the divers. As we were saying earlier, she's pregnant at the moment, and she likes to just kind of keep to herself during this particular time of year until she gives birth. So you might be able to see some of the food that the divers are kind of dishing out. You see these snapper going crazy trying to get their food, and that's when it gets dangerous for a diver, because as you go to throw your hand away to release all the food, the snapper just come charging in and grab your hand sometimes. So you do have to be very careful, because those snapper have a very, very nasty bite. But the food that the divers are throwing out today are mainly squid and some sand whiting, which is a small type of fish. We were saying before that we also vary up the food, and the food gets thrown in from above. So we also add in prawns and mussels and other types of fish as food in the display. And here, all the food gets purchased from the local seafood markets. That's all stuff that might be eventually sold as bait, I guess, or even sold for human consumption. We're using it here to feed many of our animals. So it looks like most of the rays have finished up their feeding. We've got a huge amount of snapper here. They're very greedy fish, these snapper, and many of them have been in the aquarium like this size over here for around about 10 years, virtually since the aquarium opened. So some of these snapper in here can be well over 20 or 30 years or more. They're actually quite a long-lived fish, and they can, in some areas, live for 60 or 70 years or more, but probably get almost twice the size when they get to full size. So they're still quite small, but it'd be hard-pressed to find some big snapper like that in the bay. You're very lucky to catch one. Another big smooth stingray cruising around the divers at the moment. With the rays, or the stingrays I should say, you might notice the spine or their barb on their tail, which sits on top of the tail, and that's what they use for protection, self-defense. You can see the divers are not being stung by the rays. They don't use that spine to catch and hold their food. It's just used to protect themselves from predators. And that's the only reason why they'll ever really use their sting, just use as self-defense. They're very well-mannered animals, except in here when they get a bit bossy during the feeds. Jane just got bitten on the chest there by a snapper. And by the looks of things, I think the divers have run out of food. Lloyd's hovering in the water column there without any food, and Jane's probably running low. So what Jane and Lloyd are going to be doing probably soon is heading out, and they're finishing off this particular part of the feed. As I mentioned to many of the people that started off the presentation, the divers will probably head back into the fish bowl to continue feeding some of the other animals. You're quite welcome to have a look in there. I'm not sure how busy it is in there, but you're welcome to